When you're in the cow business, you're always trying to breed up your cow herd and make them good. And I've been breeding these Beefmasters now for 40 years, and I've got a really fine herd of cattle. When we came up here, it wasn't quite that way. We started breeding our heifers up and buying good bulls and keeping our heifers back. Well, one of my neighbors couldn't take very good care of his cattle, and at 2 different times he had a 3-year-old, 4-year-old bull running around here that had been just an escapee from the knife and had never been cut. They were crossbred shorthorn Hereford cattle that were just kind of cully. And I go up there one day to feed, and here's this damn bull in with my little first calf heifers that haven't been bred yet. And I'm riding a pretty good black horse that I brought up from California that could do just about anything you wanted to do. And this bull's on the side hill, kind of south slope, and I'm a little mad. So I tied off hard and fast, and I roped the bull, and I threw a loop around his hindquarters. And we're on a pretty steep side hill. I mean, it's relatively steep. Yeah. But I'm heading the horse uphill, and when I catch the bull, I flip the rieta over his rear end, and then I turn my horse out to the side, and I really hit the horse hard, and it flips the bull over on his ass. And I had a hay string in my pocket. That's all I had. And I jumped off and tied his feet together. The horse is dragging him, and his back's down the hill. Well, it's really hard for an animal to get up when their back's down the hill. This bull's maybe 3 years old, maybe a little more, and he weighed 900 to 1,000 pounds. He wasn't a big guy at all. So when I dumped him, it wasn't like the horse it's a big load for a horse, but it wasn't terrible. And the horse could handle him well, and he did. And I tied the bull's legs together and got off and relieved him of his male appendages. And I thought he might be a little bit hot when he got up. So I did a little bit of a trick with my lasso rope where you tie a rope into the hondo, and then you can pull up on it, and it pulls the loop up. Rather, when you turn the slack loose, it pulls the loop up so you can turn it loose and you're not on the ground. I stepped up on the horse, and I turned the bull's feet loose, stepped up, and jerked the rope off his head. Well, he wasn't mad. He was very eager, and he went straight home. And I called Hoppy that night and said, "Hey, I cut that bull." And he said, "I wonder why he came home, but he's standing up above the corral feeling sorry for himself." So.
Did the neighbor have any other response?
No, not really. Bill was kind of a funny guy. I caught another one day, same kind of deal. Actually, this was the first year we were here. This bull had been terrorizing the country, and nobody could catch him. Well, I was a decent cowboy when I came up here. Not a rodeo cowboy, but a cowboy, you know.
Actual cowboy.
And I had no corrals except this little wire pin with a loading chute on it that they used to use to load their cow to take it to a milk cow to take to a bull to get bred. That's the only cow facility they had. So I had a little bunch of yearlings he was with, and I just really carefully worked him around. And I had a snubbing pole that I'd put right in the middle of this because I knew the corral wouldn't hold anything. And I'd worked a couple cattle in, and I worked a couple horses in there. I'd cut a couple yearlings I'd castrated. Anyhow, I just eased in there with this bunch of cattle. And the minute they went through the gate, I dabbed a rope on him, and I snubbed him to that post. And he choked himself out a couple times, but then he kind of gave up. And I got another rope on him, and I backed my truck up to the damn thing, and I run a line down through the side of the truck to the bull, and I hooked onto the tractor and I loaded him.
Pulled him up into the truck.
Anyhow, it's wintertime. There was probably 3 inches of shit in the truck.
Liquefied.
Liquefied, yes, very. And it had those slats in the side of this stock rack. It was a 1.5 ton Chevy. And I was going to take it home to Hoppy. And I pulled up by my neighbor Leo's, and he's out there pruning these front hedge. And Leo always pretty clean and kind of dressed right. Not, but he's a farmer, you know. He's a hard working guy, but he's pretty clean all the time. Anyhow, he poked those pruning shears through there, and that bull come across there, and he put up a wall, a wave of shit, and it hit that slat, and it painted Leo from the belt buckle to the top of his head with a green stripe.
Solid. And it was Leo's bull, or was it?
No, it was Hoppy's bull.
It was Hoppy's bull, and Leo got it.
So I took him on back there, and I couldn't get up the chute. It was too wet. Hoppy wasn't home. Nobody was around. So I took him back out the house, and I called Bill that night, and I said, "Hey, I got that damn bull in the truck." He said, "Well, would you take him to the sale?" So I did, and he got rid of him. We sell knives on our website, and these are the two we sell most of. This is the camper, and this is the hunter. I modify this somewhat for different people. They use it in the kitchen. And I make them a little bigger, put a little more rocker in them. Sometimes I don't put a guard on them. But this one they seem to like in the kitchen. They want to use it for a kitchen. I'm doing 3 of them right now that are going to the kitchen, and I just shipped a couple of them yesterday. This is the hunter, and we sell a lot of them. And I've made some of these that are a little bit lighter, a little bit smaller. And I made some of them that are a little bit bigger. It's depending on how the guy wants them and to use them. And when I get to talk to him on the phone, I find out just how they're going to handle them. And I've got one right now that just sent me an order. He's a farmer. And he says, "Use your imagination on this. I'm going to use this knife. And I want it for everything." And I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with it. I think it's going to be something like this with a little bit of a back sweep in the blade here. Mm-hmm. Maybe a little shorter. He said I'm going to be cutting a lot of hay string with it. Mm-hmm. And that little dip in there is really good for cutting string and rope and stuff. Okay, a lot of the knives we sell are just these plain steel blades. I make them out of coil springs out of cars. It's 5160 for the most part. I can do other steels, but I like that steel. It hardens really well for me. And then I do Damascus blades that right now I'm using 15N20 and 1095. And I do different patterns out of the Damascus depending on what you want. I don't do many mosaics. I have done them. I'm not super good at it, but I can get it done. I don't think they're as strong. And that may be just my own belief. The knives I make are made to be used. That is the main part of my life. Everything I've done, it needs some kind of a practical. Well, that's not quite true because I've done some foolish things. But
amen.
Yes, the tools that I make are made to be used, and the knives that I make aren't super fancy museum pieces. They're tools that you can work with.